Welcome back to your computer application class 9. In this part of the video, we will continue your topic data types, variables and values. In this part of the video, I'm going to explain you about variables, constants, literals and data type. Let's begin with variables. A variable is a named location in a memory that stores a value. For example, to store sum of two numbers, we require a named location to store the value. They may change their values during the execution of a program. It means that when you run a program, you are allowed to change the value of a. In Java, a variable name must be a legal Java identifier comprised of series of Unicode characters, and Unicode characters I had already explained you in my previous video. Must not be the same as the keyword or a Boolean literals. Boolean literals indicates that in the form of true or false. Variable name must not have the same name as another variables whose declaration appear in the same scope. It indicates that whenever you are naming a variable, you need to consider all these points. Child, here you need to understand that when you store data in memory, placeholder or locations are required. These placeholders are known as variables, or in other words, you can say that a variable is a name of a memory location which holds data of a particular data. Next we have constant, a program element whose value remains unchanged during the course of a program is called constant. Now, variable's value can be changed during the execution of a program, but constant value cannot be changed or it remains unchanged. They are called constant or literals. Java does not directly support constant. You can declare variables with initial value to make them constant. For example, you can assign predefined values to the variable num at the time of declaration by using assignment operator and keyword final. Let's take an example. Final is your keyword, int is your data type, num is your name of a variable, and 514 is your constant. So this value is not going to be changed during the execution of a program. Here we have 6 types of constant. First is the integer constant. Integer constants are constants data elements that have no fractional parts or exponents. Java treats it as int type. There are some points which you need to consider during the integer constant. It cannot have decimal point, but it can be positive or it can be negative. A constant without a sign is assumed to be a positive. They always begin with a digit and they cannot have commas. Integer constants can be represented in decimal, octal or hexadecimal format. Next we have floating constant. Floating constants represents data values with a fractional part. These constants can be expressed in either standard notation or scientific notation. Here are some points. It must have at least one digit before and after the decimal point. Second point you need to consider, comma cannot be included, and floating constant also can be positive or it can be negative. Next we have your character constant. A character constant is a single character enclosed between quotes. The character can be any character from a basic character set. Java treats it as char type. String constant consists of a sequence of 0 or more characters from the basic character set enclosed with double quotations. Boolean constants gives you the output in the form of true or false. And the last we have null constant. Java has defined null as a reserved word. It is basically used to indicate absence of some values. Last topic of this chapter is data types. Data types are used to define types of variable. Data type defines the way you use storage in the program you write. Mostly, data types are categorized into two categories: primitive data type and reference data type. Primitive data types are the basic data types which are not dependent on any other type. The 8 primitive data types are int, float, boolean, char, byte, short, long, and double. And reference data types are those data types which consist of primitive data type. They include arrays, classes, and interface. Data types we had discussed in your 8th standard also. Let's have a quick review of data types. First, let's consider your int data type. An int data type, integer values are mostly considered. Int is usually the default choice of an integer unless there is a specific reason to use a different int type. Second is a float. A float is numeric value that can hold decimals. It is used when programmers need to save memory. Next we have char data type. A char data type store a single character like A, B or any other character with a single code. String data type is a sequence of character. It allows you to store sequence of characters and it mostly includes with double quotes. Double data type is a numeric value data type and it holds the decimal values. And the last we have boolean data type. A boolean can store two values in the form of true or false. When you will use all these data type in your program, you will easily understand the usage of these data types. Next we have reference data type. Reference data type, also called derived data type, as they composed of primitive data types. They are called such because the value of reference variable is a reference of actual variable or set of variable presented by variable. With the name itself, I think you are able to understand that reference means it is a reference of an actual variable or actual value. They don't have their own value, they are just taking the reference of actual variable. The reference is actually a memory address. They include array, classes and interface. Arrays, interfaces, strings, about these topics you will learn in details in your 10th class. Next is, first let's have the rough idea about the arrays. An array is a named set of elements of similar type stored in the contiguous location. For example, if you have to store roll numbers, now all having the same type only. So when you have to store the different roll numbers or a set of roll numbers in your program, that time you are going to use arrays. Or when you have to use the name of a students, that time you are going to use arrays. An integer array is a set of integers stored under a single name. Arrays can be single dimensional or double dimensional also, or multi-dimensional. The individual elements are referred by using, now see here, the individual elements are referred by using subscript or indices, which shows the position of element in the array. Elements are stored for location 0 to n-1. Memories for array is allocated when a new operator is used. Here we said that 0 to n-1. Your first location is 0 and the last location is n-1. n-1 indicates if you have a 5 elements, then the last location is 4. Syntax is given here. First you need to mention the element type, then square brackets, then array name. Or there are different ways to represent your arrays. Here the examples are there. Please consider these examples. But as I told you that we are going to use arrays in your 10th class. Next we have classes. A class is a group of objects that share common properties, relationship and behavior as we are learning. In real world, there will exist many individual objects all of same kind. A class is thus the blueprint from which individual objects or instances are created. A class is defined using the keyword class. Every class consists of data members and member functions. These all things we had learned in your previous videos. So I hope the data types are very much clear to you. Thank you.